I am 77 years old, and 3 months ago, I finally turned off the lights in my office for the last time. I'm sharing this because I realized, far too late, that I wasted half my life on work. I'm not here to give you a speech. I'm here to tell you how I lost decades, so you don't have to do the same. You've probably heard people say that hard work is its own reward, or that your career defines who you are. I believed that with every fiber of my being for over 50 years. I thought my worth was tied to the title on my business card and the size of my retirement fund. But standing here at 77, looking at a beautiful garden I'm too tired to tend and a house that's far too quiet, I can tell you the most uncomfortable truth I've ever faced. Nobody at my funeral is going to talk about my billable hours, and the company replaced me before my desk was even cleared out. I traded my best years for a system that doesn't love me back. My story started back in 1971. I was 22, fresh out of school, and convinced that the American dream was a ladder you had to climb until your knuckles bled. I remember my first real office in Chicago. The smell of stale coffee and floor wax, and the feeling of pride I had when I stayed until 9 p.m. while everyone else went home. I told myself I was building something. By the time I hit 35 in 1984, I was a senior manager. I worked 50, 60, sometimes 80 hours a week. I remember my wife Sarah standing in the doorway of our colonial-style home in the suburbs, holding our toddler and asking if I'd be home for dinner. I'd look at my briefcase and say, "Just a few more years of this, honey, then we'll really live." That few more years became a mantra that sustained me through the 90s and into the new millennium. I missed the T-ball games, the anniversaries, and the quiet Tuesday nights because I was chasing a phantom version of success. I thought I was being a provider, but in reality, I was just an absentee father and a ghost of a husband. The culture of the 80s and 90s in corporate America was a drug. We were addicted to the more square footage in the house, a faster car in the driveway, and more zeros in the bank account. I remember a specific Tuesday in 1992. I was 43. I had just landed a massive account for our firm. My boss, a man named Arthur, clapped me on the back and said, "You're the engine of this place, kid. Don't ever stop." I felt like a king. That same night, I missed my daughter Megan's first solo in the school choir. When I got home at midnight, Sarah was asleep, and there was a cold plate of chicken on the counter. I sat there eating that cold food in the dark, feeling proud of my engine status, completely oblivious to the fact that the engine was burning the very house it was supposed to heat. I believed that my presence was replaceable by my provision. I thought that as long as the checks cleared, I was doing my job. I didn't realize that you can't deposit a memory into a bank account. Everything changed on a Tuesday in October, about 6 years ago. I was 71 then, still pushing, still convinced I was indispensable. I was in a high-stakes board meeting when my phone vibrated. It was my daughter, Megan. I ignored it. It vibrated again and again. Finally, I stepped out into the hallway, annoyed that my flow was being interrupted. I snapped into the phone, "Megan, I'm in the middle of something big. Can this wait?" There was a long silence, and then she said, in a voice that sounded like it was coming from 1,000 miles away, "Dad, Mom's in the ER. It's her heart. They don't think she's going to make it through the night." I remember looking at the mahogany doors of that boardroom, hearing the muffled sounds of men arguing about quarterly projections, and suddenly the room felt like it was spinning. I realized I didn't even know what Sarah had eaten for breakfast that morning. I didn't know what book she was reading. I realized that if she left now, I wouldn't have any recent memories of us just being together, only memories of me saying, "I have to finish this report." I drove to the hospital at 70 miles per hour, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, realizing that for 50 years, I had prioritized people who wouldn't remember my name in 5 years over the one person who had stood by me since 1969. The realization that followed was a slow, agonizing burn. Sarah survived that night, thank God, but those subsequent years revealed the true cost of my obsession. I retired at 77, and as I sat in my living room on that first Monday morning of freedom, the silence was deafening. I looked at my hands and realized I had traded my physical vitality, my hobbies, and my deepest connections for a series of promotions that mean nothing now. I thought I was winning the game, but I was actually forfeiting the only currency that matters: time. I spent 30 years working to afford a boat I'm now too frail to captain. I spent 40 years paying for a vacation home that my children rarely visit because I was too busy to build a relationship with them when they were young. I was wrong about everything. I thought work was the main course and life was the garnish. I sat at my desk and watched the world turn from green to gold to gray through a window, thinking I was doing the right thing. I wasn't. I was just an employee of the month for a company that forgot my name the week after I left. The weight of this regret is heavy. It's a physical sensation in my chest. I look at photos from the 80s and 90s, and I see a man who wasn't there. I see Sarah and Megan at the beach, at birthdays, at Christmas, and I'm either missing from the frame, or I'm in the background with a pager or a cell phone glued to my ear. I thought I was connected, but I was the most disconnected person in the room. I sacrificed the magic of the mundane for the boredom of the executive suite. I traded my health too. Years of sitting in ergonomic chairs that did nothing to save my spine, eating takeout at my desk, and living on adrenaline and caffeine have left me at 77 with a body that feels like a rusted-out car. I have the money for the best doctors now, but no doctor can give me back the knees of a 40-year-old or the heart of a man who didn't live in a constant state of high cortisol stress. I'm a cautionary tale wrapped in a silk tie. This is the trap so many of you are falling into right now. You think you're different. You think you're hustling or grinding for a future that is guaranteed. It isn't. The American workplace is a giant treadmill designed to keep you running until you're too exhausted to jump off. We treat our lives like a bank account where we can deposit all our joy today and withdraw it when we're 70. But time doesn't earn interest. It only depreciates. Imagine your life as a glass jar. Most of us fill it with the sand of urgent emails and critical meetings first. By the time we try to put in the big rocks, family, travel, passion, health, there's no room left. You're currently suffocating your future self with the sand of a job that would post your job opening on LinkedIn before your obituary hits the paper. We are a nation of people who are living for the weekend, while our actual lives are happening on Wednesday afternoons that we're ignoring. Think of your life as a candle. You are burning it at both ends to provide light for a company that has a million other candles ready to go the moment you flicker out. I've seen this play out with so many others. My old friend Bill worked until he was 75, always saying he'd travel to Italy next year. He died of a stroke 3 months before his retirement date. He spent his final weeks worrying about a merger instead of smelling the air in Tuscany. I visited him in the hospital, and his last words to me were, "I never saw the Colosseum, Harold. I was too busy with the Perkins account." Then there's Jim, who retired at 65, but realized he didn't know who he was without a badge around his neck. He spent his retirement sitting in a recliner, staring at the TV, because he had never cultivated a single interest outside of logistics management. He told me once, "I have all the money in the world now, and nothing to do with it but wait for the end." I even knew a woman named Clara, a brilliant architect who worked until she was 80. She told me on her deathbed that she could describe every building she ever designed, but she couldn't remember the color of her own mother's kitchen. These aren't just stories. They are warnings from the front lines of old age. We are a generation of men and women who were taught that busy was a badge of honor, but in reality, it was just a slow-motion robbery of our souls. Look at your life right now. Really look at it. I want to ask you 5 questions that might make you flinch, but you need to hear them. If you died tonight, would your biggest regret be that you didn't finish that spreadsheet or that you didn't hug your kids one last time? Who are you when you aren't producing something for someone else? If your job disappeared tomorrow, what would be left of your personality? Are you actually building a life, or are you just decorating a cubicle? How many more some days do you think you actually have left in your cartridge? You are trading the only thing you can never get back, your youth and your presence, for a paycheck that will never be enough to buy them back. The urgency isn't about the deadline on your desk. The urgency is the clock on your wall that is ticking toward the day you become like me, wondering where the last 50 years went. Don't wait until you're 77 to realize that the ladder you've been climbing is leaning against the wrong wall. Think about the physical toll you're taking. I see you younger folks hunched over your laptops in coffee shops at 8 p.m. on a Friday. You think you're getting ahead, but you're actually just falling behind in the race of life. You're missing the sunset. You're missing the way the air feels after a rainstorm. You're missing the sound of your partner's laughter. I remember when I was 55, I thought I was at the peak of my powers. I had just been made executive vice president. I celebrated by working through my vacation in Hawaii. I sat on a balcony overlooking the Pacific, and instead of looking at the whales breaching in the distance, I was looking at a spreadsheet on a bulky laptop. Sarah was out in the water, waving at me. I just gave her a thumbs up and went back to the numbers. Now, at 77, I would give every penny of that EVP salary to have just 1 hour of that afternoon back, to be in that water with her, feeling the salt on my skin and the sun on my face without a single thought of the office. Today, at 77, I spend my mornings sitting on the porch of our home in Connecticut. I watch the birds. I try to talk to Sarah, but there are gaps in our shared history that I can never fill because I wasn't there to witness them. We sit in a companionable silence, but it's a silence haunted by the ghosts of the conversations we should have had 30 years ago. I feel like a ghost in my own biography. I see my neighbors, young couples in their 30s, rushing to their SUVs with coffee mugs in hand, looking stressed and hurried, and I want to run out into the street and scream, "Stop! It's not worth it!" I have the retirement I worked for, but I don't have the man I used to be. My knees ache, my eyes are failing, and the freedom I earned feels a lot like a prison of regret. I am the man who had everything on paper and nothing in his heart. I am 77, and I am finally learning how to live, but I'm doing it in the twilight when the shadows are longest. I wasted half my life building a monument to my own vanity, and now I'm the only one left to guard it. I see the world differently now. I see the beauty in a slow breakfast. I see the value in a walk that has no destination. I see the importance of looking someone in the eye and really listening to them without checking the time. These are the things that make a life. Work is just the utility that allows you to enjoy these things, but it is not the thing itself. If you make work your identity, you are building your house on sand. When you retire, or when you are let go, or when you are too sick to work, that identity will wash away, and you will be left standing naked in the cold, wondering who you are. I spent 50 years being the director, the vice president, the consultant. Now, I'm just a man on a porch. And I realized that the man on the porch was always the one who mattered, but I kept him locked in a basement for half a century. I remember my father, a man who worked in a factory in Ohio. He worked hard, but when the whistle blew at 5 p.m., he was done. He came home, he worked in his garden, he played catch with me, and he sat with my mother. He didn't have much money, but he had a wealth of presence. I looked down on him for a long time. I thought his lack of ambition was a weakness. I thought my white-collar grind made me superior. I was so wrong. He was the one who had it right. He knew that work was a means to an end, not the end itself. He died at 84 with a smile on his face and a family who knew him intimately. I am 77, and I am still trying to introduce myself to my own grandchildren. I am the rich man who is actually the poorest man in the room. If you remember nothing else I've said, remember this. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time, and no amount of professional success can compensate for a life unlived. Your job will replace you in a heartbeat, but your family and your soul never will. Don't wait until you're 77 to realize that you've been working for a boss who doesn't care at the expense of a life that does. The most expensive thing you can own is a career that cost you your life. Your life is happening right now, in the margins of your to-do list. It's happening in the quiet moments you think are boring. It's happening in the relationships you're neglecting. Stop believing the lie that you have to earn the right to be happy later. Happiness isn't a destination at the end of a 40-year career. It's the fuel you need to make the journey worth taking. If I could go back to that 22-year-old in Chicago in 1971, I wouldn't tell him to work harder. I'd tell him to go home. I'd tell him to take Sarah's hand and go for a walk. I'd tell him that the big project won't matter in a year, but the look in his daughter's eyes when he shows up for her choir solo will matter forever. I wasted half my life. Please, for the love of everything holy, don't waste yours. The legacy of a life isn't found in the archives of a corporation. It's found in the hearts of the people you loved and the way you felt when the sun hit your face on a random Wednesday afternoon. I'm 77, and I'm finally awake. I just wish the dream hadn't lasted so long. I wish I hadn't spent so much of my precious, limited time trying to prove my worth to people who were just as lost as I was. We're all just walking each other home. Don't spend the whole walk looking at your phone or your briefcase. Look up. Look at the people walking with you. That's the only work that truly lasts. Work to live. Don't live to work. It's an old cliché, but clichés are usually truths that we've ignored for so long they had to become repetitive just to be heard. I ignored it. I thought I was the exception. I thought I was building a kingdom, but a kingdom of paper and ink is easily burned. A kingdom of memories and love is the only thing that survives the fire of time. I'm 77, and I'm finally starting my real life. It's just a shame I only have the final chapter left to write. Make sure your book is full of more than just office memos. Make sure it's a story worth reading. Thank you for listening to an old man's regrets. It takes a lot of courage to admit you were wrong about the very foundation of your life, but if my vulnerability helps even one of you close your laptop and go hug your family, then this realization wasn't in vain. If this story hit home for you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. We share real, unvarnished advice from seniors who have been through it all in the hopes that you can learn from our mistakes. This channel is dedicated to the truth of the lived experience, far away from the polished lies of corporate culture. Leave a comment below and tell me, what is one thing you're going to stop stressing about today so you can actually start living? What is the big rock you're going to put in your jar today? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll be reading as many as I can. Take care of yourselves, and remember, the clock is ticking, but it's not too late to change direction.